Hey everyone, it's Armor Gaming. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to Monster Legends. Welcome to a monster analysis on the brand new cosmic monster Roboelf. Centurion and Thunder are two very busy monsters at this time of the year. Too busy, in fact. After the cosmic explosion, so many monsters arrived or were born in the Monster Legends universe that they never prepared presents for all of them on their own. For this reason, Thunder contacted Ingenica. I figured that this monster had some relationship with Ingenica. She had been the one to build Centurion for him, so he knew she'd send them the best solution. A couple weeks before Christmas, Thunder received a crate from Ingenica. There was a note attached to it. Dear Thunder, inside this crate you'll find Roboelf, the little helper I've created for you and Centurion. Assemble it and insert the microchip and put it to work. Have a lovely Christmas, Ingenica. Thunder took the artifact out of its crate and rushed to assemble it. They didn't have much time left before Christmas. When he was almost done, he asked Centurion to pass him the microchip he needed to switch it on. But Centurion was a bit distracted wrapping presents and reached out for the wrong object. Thunder was in such a rush that he didn't even look what would have been given. Only after he had switched Roboelf on did he realize that he had inserted in his core wasn't the microchip, but a Stardust rock that they were supposed to deliver as a gift. I wonder who they wanted to deliver a Stardust rock to. The bad news is that now someone's going to receive a microchip they won't be able to use. But the good news is that Roboelf isn't just an amazing helper, he's also a cosmic bodyguard for Centurion. So when Krampus and his friends try to ruin Christmas, they won't stand a chance. Ah, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. It's funny because Centurion is a Megaton monster, and now Centurion has his own cosmic bodyguard. And this is how we got Roboelf. So, Roboelf, I gotta say, I was looking through the monster sheet. I actually really do like him quite a bit. So, let's go over everything. So Roboelf is a metal attacker artifact who can apply more than one torture to all enemies in one go. He can also sacrifice his trait to deal triple damage and gain true vision. Roboelf has an evolving trait. At ring 0, he's artifact. That's right, from the get-go, this monster has artifact. You cannot land denial on him, you cannot land any dots, any torture, anything, no negative effects on him. At rank 1, you gain Thunder Protection, so we don't have too many monsters that have a sort of protection trait. One of the first I remember, cosmic-wise, is Hardy. Hardy, and I always forget, Hardy actually has a water protection, so water attacks actually deal 50% less damage against Hardy. Well, Roboelf is the same, but with Thunder attacks. And at rank 3, you will apply a random torture to all enemies at the start of the battle. So this monster has a status caster, random torture against the enemy team. So in the context of battling Megaton monsters for PvP, this means that at the very start of the battle, the enemy Megaton monster, whether it be Shelly, a Daedalus, a Bombeta, they could potentially start the game off with 3 different random negative effects, specifically tortures, right? It could be a curse, it could be an ignite, it could be a burn. That is a lot of percentage damage just as soon as the game starts, as soon as they get their turn in. So unless the enemy can cleanse it, they might be in trouble, right? They might lose their Megaton monster. Especially if, like, let's say it's a Shelly and you deal enough damage to where she's gonna die with the dots. Well, when she resurrects, she'll lose her turn because she basically died on her turn. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very, very interesting how this monster works, especially with that random torture. Obviously, it could also just be the same DOT at the same enemy. It could be burn, 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 for example, and they only have 1 dot, right? Shelly, for example, is immune to bleed and nightmares, so maybe you land the bleed, nightmares, and burn, but 2 of those don't land. But it's an interesting mechanic. I like this. At the start of the battle, random torture. If you apply sunburn, you know that reduces enemy accuracy, so maybe they miss their first attack. There's a big aspect of RNG to this that I really, really enjoy. Maybe you land nightmares and you happen to have Witchcat's banner and then they lose stamina because they just so happen to have nightmares because of the random torture. So that's interesting with Roboelf. I do like that. I like that he has artifact. The Thunder Protection is nice. I don't think we really need it right now. When I think of Thunder attackers, who comes to mind? Thunder Kong maybe? He's not even heavily used. Henrich is a Thunder monster. He's a denier. I can't really think of a strong Thunder attacker. We are getting Brodie, but I don't think that's an attacker. That's more of a denial. So it's going to be interesting. So anyways, let's talk about stats. This monster has a life stat of 67,559, which is the lowest life stat for cosmic monsters. It's tied with Lord Platypus and Spitfire. So yeah, very low life stat, and you could expect that because it's an artifact monster. Typically what I've noticed in Monster Legends is that if a monster is immune to torture, or they have artifact, they're going to have a low life stat, and I think SocialPoint justifies that, because obviously if you can't land torture, torture is one of the best way to kill a monster, so if you can't land torture, let's give the monster a lower life stat to kind of make up for the fact that you can't apply dots on the monster, and then obviously the fact that you can't deny with artifact is amazing. So, for example, even Henrich has a life stat of 69,671, which is definitely on the lower end. So yeah, the life stat is 67k, lowest of the cosmics. The power is 771, which is right around the middle, tied with Binxon. And the speed stat 5808. This is tied with that of Hardy. It's a little less than average. But again, going over the trait, Artifact, Thunder Protection, Area Random Torture. Relics-wise, this is where it gets good. This monster's gonna hold the Mask Relic, so there's a lot of stuff you can do, whether it's the Jastar's Mask, Eotron's Mask, you know, Stamina Draining, Stamina Recovery. The Essence Relic, so if this monster dies, you actually come back to life. And it is so good that this monster has a rank 0 artifact, so you know, you die, you come back with your artifact, you come back with your Thunder Protection, so that's pretty awesome. Books, he's a Winter Mechanical and Exclusive, and I really like that he's in the Mechanical book, because I personally feel like I've been lacking in the Mechanical book. Yes, I have Henrich, but honestly, he's not even ranked up, and there's a few times where I could actually use him to deny, considering almost every single war, somehow there's a Megaton monster in there. And yes, there's Laser Beam 2099, but he's a lot of RNG, random hater kind of stuff. Vanoss 2099, I didn't purchase the exclusive pass, so I don't have the monster, so it's going to be nice to get this monster. So yeah, he's Winter Mechanical exclusive, and let's talk about stats. So this is where things get even better, in my personal opinion. So yes, he has Artifact, so he can't be denied, but yes, he can still get hit with CDA. Well, this monster doesn't care because he has 1, 2, 3, 4 0 CDA skills, or sorry, 0 cooldown skills. So even if you get hit with cooldown activation, you still have 4 different skills you could potentially utilize, and 2 of them, the tier 1 skills, also cause 0 stamina. So even if you get 100% stamina drained, you can still attack the enemy because you have a variety of skill sets to choose from. So this monster really can't be stopped. You can't Total Blind him, you can't Possess, Freeze, or Stun him, and obviously CDA doesn't even work against this monster. Now let's talk, because what's even more interesting about this monster, he has different elemental attacks. He has Metal, Thunder, and Fire, right? He has Thunder again over here. So he even has a variety of skill sets to choose from to attack different kinds of monsters. So let's start with Panda Claw's Helper, deals moderate metal damage to an enemy, applies a random torture. So you have a spammable skill that applies a random torture to an enemy monster. You have Gifts for Everyone, which deals low metal damage. So normally I wouldn't be a fan of this skill, 20 damage, 0 cooldown. However, in the context of your battling a Bomb Beta being a light monster, you yourself having an elemental advantage, even if you get hit with CDA, low metal damage against a Bomb Beta is essentially 30 damage, 3 times over because of Megaton, it's 90 damage on only a 25 stamina cost against an enemy Bomb Beta. That is potentially really good, especially if you're facing like a Tabora Kodama base, right? If you know you're going to get hit with CDA, Gifts for Everyone could damage Bomb Beta enough to the point where you almost kill it, if not kill it. Not to mention, at rank 3, that Area Random Torture, what if you land Ignite and Burning on Bomb Beta? You deal enough damage with Gifts for Everyone, even after getting hit with CDA, and then when Bomb Beta dies, it dies thanks to the dots. So there's a lot of potential with this monster, I think. Lighting the Star deals moderate thunder damage to one enemy, applies shock to one enemy, so there's 0 cooldown, 0 stamina. And Hot Chocolate Sir deals moderate fire damage to one enemy, applies burn to one enemy. So obviously, you have a skill you can use against water monsters, you have a skill you can use against nature monsters. I personally think if you're choosing between one of these skills, Lighting the Star is probably the better way to go because of the shock mechanic, and considering there are so many monsters right now that can turn transfer or have extra turn skills, even the new race monster we're getting is an extra turner, and for all we know, it might be able to do more than a 4-turn cycle. Being able to shock a monster and prevent an extra turn, that could be pretty significant. So the fact that you can do this on 0 cooldown, 0 stamina, I think most of the time, I would go with the shock just to prevent extra turners. Obviously, it depends on the situation. If you're in a war situation, there's no one that can do extra turn, go for the burn because it deals more damage, unless you need the elemental advantage of thunder. But with that being said, yeah, Lighting the Star, I like it a lot. 0 cooldown, 0 stamina. Unboxing Time, disables trait on itself, applies true evasion, applies triple damage for 1 turn. So, I'm really not a fan of these skills. These skills really work when you can turn transfer. So obviously, if you have like a Lindworm, and on turn 1, you turn everyone into a baby, and then Roboelf goes and does Unboxing Time, and you give yourself triple damage. Next turn, you can Sequence Bender back into Roboelf, and then you have triple damage. Then you can deal some massive damage. Yes, there's combos you can utilize, but personally, I'm not a fan of self-buff skills unless they do something. If it would have been like triple damage extra turn, that's a whole different story. If it would have been double damage extra turn, whole different story. But just self-buffing like this, especially when we disable your own trait, which makes this monster, like his trait is what makes him good. The artifact, I'm not the biggest fan. I will say though, with True Vision and the triple damage, you will not miss your next attack. So again, if you can combo for it, go for it. I'm personally not the biggest fan of these kinds of skills. Impactful Gift deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, applies shock to all enemies, applies a random torture to all enemies. So this is pretty cool because, again, at rank 3, you do a random torture, and now Impactful Gift can apply another random torture to the enemy monsters. So it's also thunder damage and it's also shock. So once again, considering there are so many turn transfer monsters, this is a way to prevent all that turn transferring, all those extra turn skills. So it definitely has its uses. It does cost 36 stamina, however. Let's go down. North Pole Claws deals heavy metal damage to an enemy, applies ignite to an enemy, and shock to an enemy. So this is your strongest attack, which honestly isn't that strong. 50 damage, you know, we've seen monsters that have 60, 65, 70 even. But yeah, the good thing about this skill is that it, on top of dealing the heavy metal damage, you ignite and you shock, right? So once again, I think this goes with the synergy of being able to kill a bomb beta, for example. If your status caster applies 3 dots to the bomb beta, right, and one of them isn't ignite, one of them isn't shock, maybe if you were to do an AoE skill, it would kill it, and maybe you don't want to kill it right away. Maybe you want it to die with the dots. Then you do North Pole Claws, which will only deal 50 damage instead of like 90 or more, and then you let the dots kill it, right? This can work for Shelly, this can work against anyone else. So definitely as its use is definitely worth running. It is a hefty 46 stamina cost, but I think that's fine. Ignite and shock on top of that. And then you have Hot Gift. Deals moderate metal damage to all enemies, applies burn to all enemies, applies a random torture skill to all enemies. So we have another skill that applies random torture. You have 2 AoE skills that can apply random tortures. So, I mean, I'm really thinking of the synergy. Like, again, going against, I talk a lot about Megaton because that's the meta in PvP, but like, you have your rank 3 status caster that applies random torture. You can do your tier 2 skill, Impactful Gift, apply random torture, so a Megaton monster will absorb 3 random tortures, and then Hot Gift, like you turn transfer into Roboelf, you can do Hot Gift, and essentially you could have like 9 different tortures. That probably would not happen. Probably most of the time what would happen is that you'd get some repeats and they'd nullify. But I mean, the potential for that is pretty cool. This is a metal-based attack, so this is a bomb beta killer. I think this monster is a Megaton killer, undoubtedly. With the random tortures, plus the metal damage, you can easily kill bomb betas. Even against like Shellys and Datalisses. Again, if the damage itself from the AoE doesn't kill it, you can pretty much guarantee the dots will kill it. Because aside from the random tortures of your status caster, Hot Gift is applying a burn to the enemy and more random tortures. So, you know, it's awesome because they die. A Shelly, for example, will die, resurrects with the revival, and doesn't matter, turn is skipped, and then you can easily kill it before it applies the 100% life shield and the skill mirror and all that stuff. So, and the Megaton again. So that's pretty cool. If I was running this monster, I would go Hot Gift, I would go North Pole Claws, I would go with Lighting the Star, and that takes care of the 0 cooldown, 0 stamina, and I'd probably go with Impactful Gift. Yeah, like I said, I don't like unboxing time, so I'd go with the 2 AoE random tortures. That way you have a thunder-based one when you need it, and you have a metal-based one when you need it. And then you have a 0 cooldown, 0 stamina skill you can use whenever you need it. But again, gifts for everyone, maybe against a bomb beta base. If you know you're going to get hit with CDA, that could also be used specifically. The ultimate deals heavy metal damage to enemies, applies ignite, shock, and another random torture. This monster just loves to give out gifts, like in this form of torture against the enemy. But yeah, so I actually like the monster a lot. He's interesting, he's unique. We haven't really seen a monster like this too much. He's actually someone I could see myself having a lot of fun with, and for newer players, if you can get him to rank 3, he could potentially help you kill Megaton monsters thanks to the torture. Because now the enemy, like, you have to think, if they're running a Shelly, Bomb Beta, or sorry, if they're running, if they're running a Shelly, Tabora, Kodama base, for example, that's my go-to base, but it can be anyone. It can be anyone that does CDA. It doesn't have to be Kodama. If they're running that kind of base, if the Tabora AI is essentially going to have to decide, do you want to trade disable your Megaton, or are you going to do atrophy to cleanse the round of torture, right? Who knows what the AI is going to do? Maybe it'll do atrophy, and now your Megaton monster still has Megaton, you're protected. So when Kodama goes and does CDA, your Megaton monster absorbs it, so then you're free to win those battles. Also, if you're battling like Vampirastro bases, and you're applying dots against Vampirastro, the enemy's going to have to think twice before doing extra turn skills, because the dots might eat them away. Even if you're battling like a Hardy base, Hardy, Vampirastro, someone else, Hardy, maybe you're running Vampirastro Roboelf, and you can purposely trigger anticipation on Hardy because you applied a lot of dots on him. So I think this monster is really interesting. I actually really like him a lot, and I am looking forward to him. You'd run him as an attacker, I think, so you can do 2 strength and a speed. You could also probably do a bunch of team speed and just go after dots, because he doesn't really need to attack. So I think he can be a team speed holder for dots, and I think he can be a attacker to kill, again, especially Bomb Beta, since you have metal-based AoEs. But it's interesting. I like this monster a lot. So let me hear your guys' thoughts. How would you run this monster? What skill set would you run? Do you see him as a team speed holder? Do you see him as an attacker, 2 strength? Any thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys very much, and remember to subscribe.